Hey there, homeschool reading community. Welcome to this Facebook Live video about using free resources to teach your child how to read. I'm really excited to talk about this topic. I know that there are a ton of resources out there that are designed to help you teach your child to read. And so today we're going to break down how to find the best ones and how to use them to teach your child to read, and then also some things that you might want to avoid. So I'm really excited to talk about this topic with you. So a couple of announcements to let you know of before we get started talking about those free reading resources. The Reading Better Together curriculum is going to be available again really soon in just a few weeks. So if you are not yet on the VIP list for that and you are at all interested in the curriculum, you are definitely going to want to be there. There's a link in the description of the video again to where you can go and join the VIP list. I'm going to be launching the curriculum one more time in a few weeks, and then I'm going to be raising the price. So if you are on the VIP list, you will get first access to the curriculum at the current price before it goes up. And I also added a brand new VIP bonus. It's something that I have been working on a lot lately that I'm really excited about offering to you. And it's something that you can only get if you are on the VIP list. So it's not something that I'm going to announce publicly or share publicly. The only way to get it and the only place to get it is on the VIP list. So I think those were the announcements that I wanted to share. So we're going to go ahead and get started talking about those free resources that you can use to teach your child to read. And I thought that to organize this, I would share 2 times and ways that I think it's really awesome to use free resources, and then also one that I would recommend avoiding using the free resources. So the first time that I think it's really helpful to use free resources in teaching your child to read is to supplement what you are working on with your child. So if there's a specific skill that you're working on or something that your child is learning, it can be really great to go out to Pinterest or to pull from the resources that you have on your computer or look around and try to find something really specific and targeted to help you practice that thing. So, for example, a bunch of people said in the comments that they were working on letter sounds with their kids. And I know that when I was teaching letter sounds, this was something that I did use some free resources for. I had found some resources in bundles that I had gotten access to, and a couple of things on Pinterest that we were able to use that really supplemented the letter sounds that we were practicing and the way that I was teaching them. I think it's really important, though, that you make sure that the free resources that you choose follow what it is that you're teaching, because there's different ways to teach all of these different reading skills, and you want to make sure that the resources that you find were created by somebody or created in the style of what it is that you are teaching your kids. So, for example, with those letter sound resources, you want to make sure that the resource that you find includes only letters and sounds that your child already knows. So if you've been going through a curriculum or you've been teaching the letters sort of in order, you want to make sure that the resources that you're using include only the letters that your child already knows. In education, we call this a scope and sequence. So the scope is what letters are covered, and the sequence would be in what order. And you want to make sure that the scope and sequence of the free resources that you choose matches what it is that you are doing. Because if your child all of a sudden sees a lot of things that they don't already know, some resources will encourage them to go ahead and guess, and we really want to avoid that. So we've been talking a lot about why we want to avoid guessing over the last few weeks of Wednesday classes. And if you missed any of those, you can check the guide section in the groups. If you scroll all the way up to the top, there will be a link to guides, and then you can get all of the Wednesday classes in a list that you can scroll through and just watch all of them or any that interest you. So with those free resources, we want to make sure that we're looking for something that teaches the way that we are teaching. And especially we want to be really careful of resources that encourage guessing. And we want to make sure that we are avoiding those. I just this morning in my email, I was thinking about how this happens often. And I just this morning in my email got an email from a really big name mom blogger, printable creator who was offering one of these resources, and it was presented as a learn to read resource, but in looking at it a little bit, on the page where you could go and download it from, it was really clear from that page that this particular resource was going to encourage our kids to guess. So I would strongly, strongly recommend that you just make sure before you choose those resources for your kids that it's not something that's going to encourage your kids to guess, but it is something that's going to encourage your kids to learn how to sound out words. Because once we introduce guessing as a reading strategy, it's really, really, really hard to undo that and to get our kids back to phonics and to sounding out. So we want to be really careful with that. Another time that it can be really, really good to use free resources with our kids when we're teaching reading is the library. I strongly recommend that if you're not going to the library with your kids on a regular basis, that it's really important to do that. And actually the scientific research backs that up. So when I was researching for this, or recently, I saw this statistic that I thought was really interesting, and it said a steady stream of new age-appropriate books has been shown to triple interest in reading in months. I want to read that again because I think this directly relates to libraries. A steady stream of new age-appropriate books has been shown to triple kids' interest in reading in months. So if we're struggling with our kids not being interested in reading or not wanting to read, I think this is a really important strategy to really take advantage of. We want to give them a steady stream of books, so that means we want to be going to the library on a regular, consistent basis. We want to plan regular times in our schedule and make it sort of a part of our family's routine. And then we want to choose new age-appropriate books. So we want to make sure that as we're at the library that we're spending time with our kids, that we are teaching them how to select books that are appropriate for them, and that we're helping them to find books that are at their reading level if they're an independent reader, or books that we can read to them that they will be able to understand. And we talked a lot in the Reading Better Together community today about reading comprehension and about how to use those books to teach reading comprehension to our kids. And I think that that is really important too, that we can use those reading books as we're reading out loud to our kids to teach reading comprehension. Another thing that's really important about the library is letting our kids choose what books they're reading. So we want to make sure that as much as we can, as much as possible, that we let our kids choose. I think for me, I would rather have my kids have a positive experience with something with a cover and pages, at least when they're young. And then I feel like once they have developed that love of reading, then I can start to introduce some of the different genres or some of the maybe more classic books. But at the beginning, my only goal for the kids at the library is just to find them something that they'll enjoy and something that they'll read and something that they'll engage with. And so if that means a whole load full of nonfiction books, great. If that means comic books, great. If that means whatever, great. The only goal is that they picked it and they're going to get home and be excited to read it. So we, for a while, went through a phase where my son was really into trucks. And so almost our entire book bag was the nonfiction section about construction trucks from the library. And we were at the point where he knew exactly where those were. He wasn't a reader at the time, but he knew exactly where those were. He could go to that section independently and he could tell me which ones we had checked out and which ones we hadn't. And we got to the point where we eventually had read all of them. And it was a pretty good sized section. So it was not my choice. I was not super excited to read the 73rd book about dump trucks, but it was something that was getting him excited about reading, and so we went with it. And so I think that anytime you can do that and you can give your kids choice, that is really, really helpful. And those library books are especially helpful for teaching reading comprehension. If your kids are older, you can also do side-by-side reading with the library books. So you read a page, they read a page, you read a page, they read a page, and you take turns like that. And that is a really great strategy for encouraging kids to read out loud, for giving them a break after every page, and for giving them that reward of being able to sit and listen to you read. So if you haven't tried that strategy yet, definitely recommend that one. All right. So we talked about some times when it's really good to use free resources. We talked about supplementing what you're learning with printables, and we talked about going to the library. But I also want to talk about a time when I think it's really not helpful to use free resources, and that is for your overall whole Learn to Read curriculum. I think that the more that I've worked with parents inside of Reading Better Together and the more that I've taught kids to read on my own, I'm seeing more and more and more and more that reading is a very sequential process. It's a lot like math. So we know that for math, there's a sequence of skills that kids learn, and over time, those skills build on each other. And if you've heard people talk about math curriculum, especially in homeschool circles, people will choose one and then stick with it over multiple years. And they do that because they don't want their kids to have gaps in learning. And they know that if one curriculum taught addition in first grade and the other curriculum didn't teach it until second grade, and they switch curriculums in the wrong order, your child can miss addition altogether, and then they get confused and frustrated and stuck as they get to older levels. And the same thing is true with reading. When we're teaching reading sequentially using the phonics method of blending sounds and letters to make words and then sort of gradually working on more complicated words, it's very sequential, just like math is. And so because reading is sequential, we're learning that each topic builds upon the previous topic. And so it's really important that we're teaching these things explicitly and in order. So that means that we're explaining things to our kids and that we're going through in a logical order and teaching them. And the research is supporting that. It's showing that this is a really helpful thing for kids and that it makes reading easier for kids when we teach this way. And so it's really important, I think, to choose an overall reading curriculum that has a really clear sequence of what needs to happen first and then next and then after that, so that your child is learning these skills in the correct order and stuff isn't getting missed. Because unfortunately, if some of these things get missed, if we miss different letter sounds or if we miss specific parts of the process that are important, it can cause our kids to get frustrated and discouraged. And it's not that they're a bad reader or that they can't do it. It's just that we missed it because we were trying to cobble together all of these things to create a reading curriculum instead of just choosing one that includes a clear sequence of events. Let's see. Elizabeth says, what decodable books do you find at the library that is best? We just finished reading Better Together and we are reading for more decodable books. Yeah, that is a great question, Elizabeth. So I would definitely start. It's tricky because it depends. It depends on what your library has. I know my library does not have a lot of like sets of decodable books, and a lot of the ones that we do have are kind of more based on reading out loud with sight words, like the Bob books and those kind of things that are either more simplistic or the ones that are more sight word based. At a certain point here, you can start actually using simple rhyming books. So like Dr. Seuss and those kinds of things that are pretty limited for vocabulary once you get to that point. Also, I want to tell you so bad. Okay, I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to say this. So Reading Better Together is going to get an update. It's going to happen after the next time that the cart opens in March, and there's going to be more lessons. So more decodable books are coming from Reading Together for you too. So yeah, I spilled the beans. I shouldn't have said that, but I'm saying it because it's happening and I'm really excited. And I was going to wait and tell you, but I'm telling you now. So there you go. So that's really exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. And that is coming in March. So couple of things to think of. Elizabeth says, yay. Yeah, I'm really excited. I've been waiting a really, really long time to do this, but the time is now. It's come. It's happening. So the plan is that it's going to be 16 additional weeks. So it's going to be a total of 32. And that is happening starting in March. The first lessons are going to be coming after the cart's going to open in March, and then the first lessons are going to come after that. And then, of course, everybody who already has access to the curriculum gets lifetime access to the curriculum and to all of the updates. So everybody who purchases in March or has access before that will get access to the original 16 weeks that are there now, as well as the new 16 weeks that are going to go into CVCE words, so long vowels and silent letters. We're going to have some more letter combination sounds. So like we've done some digraphs already, but we're going to move into some more complicated things with that, and just expanding the scope of the curriculum. And it's also going to kind of be more comprehensive in its scope as well. So we talked about in this class about how important it is to have a sequence of teaching all of the skills in order. And there's going to be a class coming in March about which exactly skills need to be taught and in what order. And the curriculum is going to have all of that in there as well. Elizabeth says, awesome, thanks. Yeah, I'm really excited. I am so excited about the things that are happening for the curriculum. It's been a really exciting month. There's been lots of bonuses. We just added a video bonus as well. I was talking about this with the Reading Better Together group this morning. So, or just now we did the live. So the curriculum now has done for you sound teaching videos in it. So I love these two. I recorded myself doing all of the sound intro lessons and put them in the curriculum. So when you get to the part where you need to introduce a new sound, you can just scan the QR code and there it is for you. The sound video is there so you can watch it for yourself, and you can get an idea of how to pronounce that sound if you're not sure, or you can even just watch the video alongside your child and learn how to pronounce the sound together. And I think those are so tricky because the sound pronouncing is something that we don't really do in English talking, right? We don't say individual sounds separately from each other. And when we talk in English, the sounds get blended together in the words. So it's really hard to hear those individual pure sounds or to say them, but it's so important. So like, for example, the sound for the letter L, when we are saying it in a word, we never really say it separately. But when we're pronouncing it for our kids, it's really important that we pronounce ooh and not la, because when our kids are blending, they're going to need to hear ooh and not la. And so there's a video that explains how to do that and how to make sure that your kids are saying the sound correctly, and all of that's in the curriculum as well. Yeah, Elizabeth. Judy says, thank you. Heather says, thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about those videos. They are in the Curriculum Hub now for all the people that have access to the curriculum. And if you don't have access yet, you will be getting those when you purchase in March, you'll be getting those as well. Everything that was in there before you get, and then, all the new things as well. So if you are interested in that and you don't have access yet, you can go check out the link at the description of the video and get on the VIP list. All right, we got totally off track. Do we have other questions about using free curriculum in our homeschool? Go ahead and type those in the comments if you do. And if you are watching the replay, go ahead and type your questions in the comments as well, and I'd be happy to answer those. Also, next week, we're going to be talking about using digital curriculum in your homeschool. So I know that a lot of the resources that we find that are free are often digital resources, and digital resources can be a really great thing for our homeschool. So we're going to talk about some of the perks of having digital resources, and we're going to talk about some specific tips for using them. So next week I'm going to be sharing exactly how I organize all of my digital resources on my computer, because I know that can sometimes be a challenge to remember what you have and to figure out a way to store and organize them. And so I'm going to be sharing this behind the scenes look of exactly how I do that. And we're also going to be talking about printing digital resources and how to do that. And I'm going to be sharing resources for that as well. So I'm really excited to talk about digital curriculum next week, and I hope that you will join us again next week. That'll be at 3 o'clock Eastern right here in the Facebook group. That you guys have a wonderful week. And again, if you have more questions or comments, go ahead and add those to the comments or the chat under the video, and I'll be back throughout the week to answer them. All right, thanks everybody. Bye. I hope you enjoyed this video, which was recorded live in the Homeschool Reading Community Group. This is a free Facebook group where I share tips and advice about homeschooling and teaching reading. You'll also find community with other homeschool moms like you, plus freebies, giveaways, parties, and more. I would love for you to join us over at the Homeschool Reading Community. Make sure that you check out the link in the description of this video for all the details.